Hey there folks, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So look, the Justin Bieber album bomb is coming next week, and we're just gonna have to deal with that as a community. But in the meantime though, kind of a normal week, as much as any of this year has been normal. I feel like whatever flurry of activity we've gotten has come and gone. No real earth-shaking moments here, but that's maybe because the top 10 is feeling as static as it is. Starting with The Box by Roddy Ricch comfortably cementing its hold on the number one with another week, whereas softer sales are still comfortably being beaten by enormous streaming and continuous radio growth. And at this point, I'm more surprised that Life is Good by Future featuring Drake is holding at number 2. The streaming is somehow still huge, and it's actually getting the radio push, even though I'd argue the song is fundamentally flawed and kind of split apart. And it's only not falling off because I'm not seeing the competition coming from Circles by Post Malone at number 3, because it's not really growing significantly in any category. And funnily enough, Memories by Maroon 5 is actually faring worse in streaming and outright freefall on the radio. It's at number 4. Now, I'd like to say this opens up an avenue for Dance Monkey by Tones and I at number 5, given that its sales and streaming are better, but that comes with narrowing the radio margin, and that might just come with a little bit more time to close in, given that it's got about half as much radio as those top tier contenders. Honestly, what might be better off is Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa up to number 6, which might have weaker sales and a slower growth on streaming, but it's got momentum thanks to the album rollout and real radio traction. I can see this surging in the next couple of weeks. Hell, blew right past Roxanne by Arizona Zervis at number 7, which saw its radio hit a hard peak, but otherwise is stubbornly holding in all other categories. And Someone You Love by Louis Capaldi looks to be finally in free fall on the radio, sliding down to number 8, taking 10,000 Hours by Dan Shay and Justin Bieber down to number 9 on even worse radio losses. Now, I'm looking at Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish to make a move beyond number 10. I don't know, despite a lot of radio, the streaming has started to fall off a little bit, so that momentum might be a little bit shakier than we all thought, even though I wouldn't mind seeing it still there. But this takes us to our losers and dropouts, and we didn't really have many in the latter category that stood out. Maybe Good News by Mac Miller, but that's about it beyond the Lil Wayne album bomb fallout, which also saw I Do It with Big Sean and Lil Baby slide down to 61 off the debut. But outside of King of My City with A Boogie with the Hoodie skidding down to 99 off the debut, all the rest of our losers were continuing from last week. Start With Me by Roddy Ricch and Gunna at 94. No Idea from Don Toliver sliding down to 88. Foot Soul Shuffle 2020 by Lil Uzi Vert at 84. Very telling surrounding when that album might actually drop. And sadly, BITCH by Megan Thee Stallion at 72. I really honestly hope that song might have a little bit more staying power. But on to the flip side, well, okay, we got the returns like Into the Unknown by Idina Menzel and Aurora at 93, thanks to the Academy Awards. Loyal by Party Next Door featuring Drake making another run at 80. That album needs to come out soon, Party. And Rodeo by Lil Nas X and Cardi B, or in this case, Nas at 74. Although somehow I get the feeling this might not have a lot of staying power at all. Kind of ironic because in our gains, most of them are in or adjacent to country. Because outside of a slight revival for Selena Gomez's Rare at 87 that'll probably get killed on the Bieber album bomb, we saw Die Bar by Garth Brooks and Blake Shelton at 85, Make Me Want To by Jimmy Allen at 53, and Slow Dance in a Parking Lot by Jordan Davis at 76. So maybe that coming Bieber album bomb might have some good after all? I don't know, we'll have to see. Anyway, here comes our new arrivals for this week. Starting off with number 97, No Judgement by Niall Horan. Get that from anyone else. You don't have to prove nothing. You can just be yourself. So Nice to Meet You was a pretty terrific song and a really great lead-off single, but I'll be honest, I'm not at all surprised that it didn't really make a move, given that it was calling back to an era of sound of late 90s pop rock that hasn't really received the nostalgia wave yet, although it probably should. But okay, next single on the way, and well, outside of the obviously clunky acoustic groove and the lyrical cadence that's really pulling from territory Ed Sheeran already monopolizes, I do think there's a bit more from Niall that makes it feel a little distinct. For one, the blend of slick guitar timbres and rubbery blending, has a little bit more polish and well-balanced groove than many of his existing peers don't quite have. And for another, Niall Horan has a sort of loose player but kinda cool vibe that's so ridiculously self-assured that it almost makes him feel like a relic of a different era of pop stars. His charisma has that sort of pop to it, and that infuses a lot of the lyrical attitude as well. He's not really tortured by this hookup, just kind of accepting of the fact that he'll be decent for however long it'll last. I don't know, it contributes a mature vibe that I can really get behind, so even if I'm not really sure I'd place this among his best cuts, solid stuff. I like this, check it out. Next up, number 96, What's Poppin' by Jack Harlow.
Pass that bitch like Stockton. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday locked in. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the top 10.
Another week, another trap kid getting the video boost from Lyrical Lemonade with one extended verse and passing glances at Drake and the still plentiful fuckboy rap scene. I mean, he kind of sounds like he's splitting the difference between Logic and G-Eazy. It's uncanny. Now, credit where it's due, Jack Harlow seems to have a better command of his flows that he's appropriating than many, and he's not trying to flex with a lot of guns, instead more focusing on an overly detailed hookup, a bunch of sports references, and exasperation at old friends and haters who don't like his newfound success, all against a rinky-dink piano and a let-in but kind of fizzy trap beat. And while it's more than a little bit rich for him to claim this flow, DaBaby might have something to say about that, especially over this production, he can command exasperation pretty well, and he sounds credible enough here. I'm not saying I'm gonna get all the way on board with this, because it's not like the wordplay is exceptional and the production is not that great, but honestly, it's better than I expected. Not bad at all. Number 90, Believe by Meek Mill featuring Justin Timberlake.
Needed you and me.
You know, it seemed like a lot of folks are really worried about the song, that this potentially Meek Mill would compromise his rise in popularity given Justin Timberlake's antics from 2018 that a lot of people still aren't over, even though I'm on the ledge saying that that project is nowhere near as bad as so many people made it out to be, which means talking about this collaboration is a little bit odd, because it feels like it's simultaneously from two different eras of radio-friendly crossover rap, and it's not quite clicking, with a guitar touch hook from Justin Timberlake playing in minor keys, having a little bit more bombast to be aspirational and highlight that hard struggle, but without an actual bridge or a third verse to really drive it home, it ends rather abruptly without having a full climax that songs like this normally deliver. But even then, it feels like there's a lot of elements that kind of blunt the impact. The oddly muted layering of the mix off the softer beat, the fact that Meek Mill brought up social media at all in the first verse, you gotta be above that, man. And the fact that despite some of the string swell in the last hook, it never flips towards a properly triumphant note to highlight Meek's ascendancy. I don't know, this is the sort of song that should soar, but instead it never really quite takes off. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but can it match with a song like Dead and Gone with T.I.? Yeah, no. Not a chance. Number 83, Keii by Anuel AA. Okay, help me out here. Why is anyone keeping Anuel AA around? Maybe it's a cultural separation thing and my consistent ambivalence to trap, let alone Latin trap, but he doesn't seem to have the most vocal personality as most of the field, and his greatest US crossover success has been with 6ix9ine. You think that would bar him from polite society anywhere? But apparently he's showing a little more here off the same by-the-numbers warping reggaeton percussion and watery textures, shouting out so many of the hits that have blown up in the genre, but I feel like that might prove my broader point, as he doesn't really have the distinctive flair by himself. That being said though, I do kind of appreciate how he's trying to use some of these songs as a broader representation of specific brands of toxicity that he's trying to move past, which when you include Tipote in that conversation, I guess I can kind of respect the self-awareness. I can still hear more of the appeal here, but I'm not on the board. That's all. Number 68, Run by Joji. So I've been hearing a lot of hype for this Joji song. It might just be his best to date following Sanctuary, which was pretty damn great in its own right. That more than even Slow Dancing in the Dark, this is the song that can put him over the top. And let me make this clear, I'm not sure the song is better than either Sanctuary or Slow Dancing in the Dark, but it is still really good. Leaning on darker guitar timbres, letting Joji bring out his Weeknd-esque vocal cadence against a sharper groove with some real heft and swell behind it, even if I do feel that percussion's a little bit too stiff, especially if you're actually gonna bring in that guitar solo. Just have some more real live drums. And you know what, I like the lyrical sentiment for the most part as well. Post-breakup, racked with a lot of pain and sadness and trying to escape however he can, only with the realization he can't really run from the emotions that are buried within his own mind. A much bleaker situation. But yeah, solid song, well constructed. That's his highest charting track to date. Let's see how far it'll take him. I'd like to see more. Next up, number 62, Blueberry Faygo by Lil Mosey.
In a big ass Draco, 3 more millions when you ask how my day go. Put up a phone, not a Blueberry Faygo.
Seriously, people, we don't need to keep Lil Mosey around. There's enough acts doing what he's doing that the title of this song might be the most unique thing he's ever put his name to. I mean, for me, he falls closer to the category of guys like Lil Tecca, who might catch a good melody occasionally. And let me make this clear, this is actually a good hook off the watery vocal sample from Johnny Gill and a relatively gentle trap knock. And I do like Lil Mosey describing himself as a trap star, but beyond that, he's got nothing all that interesting to say beyond drugs, brand name, shooting people, and fucking your girl. Hell, here he's passing her off to the whole goddamn team as he rides a counting gimmick on the hook. Beyond that, look, credit to being insufferably catchy, and I'll probably wind up like Ransom, that I can't really hate it, because I do see this being a hit, but I don't get a lot out of it either, considering he's got no real edge or interesting punch to it. In other words, just trap junk food. Let's move on. Number 57, Know Your Worth by Khalid and Disclosure.
I know that you deserve. Say it's not real if it doesn't hurt.
Okay, considering the last time Khalid and Disclosure worked together for a hit, we got Talk, a song that's only gotten stiffer and worse with every listen, so I had less than zero expectations surrounding this, and oh fantastic, he's making his version of Treat You Better, fucking Christ. Now, to be fair, it is measurably better across the board than that atrocity, most because he keeps his own desires more implied than outright in the text, as he implies this girl does deserve better, and that she needs to keep her head up beyond this guy who keeps leaving her out in the cold. Find the person who loves her at her worst. It could be played for a little bit more of the optimistic support from a friend in a lean on me sort of mold. And that kind of fits the fizzy jauntiness of the beat's rubbery bounce and the vaguely tropical flavor to it. And as such, it's generally pretty approachable. Dare I say even likable, even if I'd argue that it kind of hits one note and doesn't really modulate much around it, which might be more on Disclosure, who at least found a decent groove this time and didn't dare switch it up and compromise. But otherwise, yeah, you know what? It's an improvement. Fine enough song. Not either artist's best, but hell, I'll take it. Number 23, Yikes by Nicki Minaj.
Yikes, you a clown, you do it for likes. Yikes, yes it's tight, but it doesn't bite.
So I'll be blunt, I didn't believe whatsoever that Nicki Minaj was ever gonna retire. To the point where even if this is just a standalone loose single that she can throw pot shots at the haters, I just completely forgot that, oh, she's retired now. That should actually mean something. And yet somehow this wound up meaning even less, with Nicki hopping on a reverb swamped out trap beat with an off-key keyboard melody and a rote trap flow where even she sounds bored, and then the charming line, all you bitches Rosa Parks, uh-oh, get your ass up. Maybe it's a really stupid idea to conflate yourself with the people telling Rosa Parks to move to the back of the bus, Nicki. And the alarming thing is how much that bad line overshadows the rest of the damn song, because the choppy flows don't really lead to much in terms of sharp punchlines beyond the occasional brand name and the Fendi references, that pieces that she's associated with, which puts me more in the mind of her song Megatron, that might as well have doubled as a commercial for her Moscato brand, which we then realize what this really might be. Which might explain why the song's so damn disposable, but it probably doesn't explain why we got that horrible Rosa Parks line. So yeah, this isn't worth much of anything. But somehow it actually does get worse with number 11, Intentions by Justin Bieber featuring Quavo.
Dead, you a killer.
shower you with all my attention. Yeah, these are my only intentions.
Alright, look, I'll be speaking on Bieber's album Changes on the main channel tomorrow on The Pulse a little bit more. But what is there even to say about a song that's so obviously built by committee that any sexiness seems designed by machine? And not in the fun way. Seriously, when you have the line, heart full of equity, you're an asset, that doesn't make the panties drop so much as remind me to get my RRSP contributions in for the year. And when you pair it with how Bieber's girl is staying in the kitchen, the weird shout out to her parents for making her, and how she doesn't need a sponsor because she's the brand now. Are we even talking about a person? It feels like we're talking about a gender dynamic that's modern but regressive in a bafflingly clumsy way. We don't need you to remake Trophies by Drake, but worse, Bieber. And when you tack on the insert here Quavo guest verse full of nothing opposite Bieber's empty crooning, a lot of faded synths that don't match at all the squittering percussion fizzes and leaden beat, and then you realize he's intending this as a single. Yeah, fuck this nonsense. This might actually be worse than Yummy. Bad song. Skip it. And in the surprise of nobody, it's the worst of this week, with Yikes by Nicki Minaj nabbing the dishonorable mention because, really, it's just a commercial. But for the best, you know what's actually kind of tough, but I think No Judgement by Niall Horan just edges out Run by Joji for the best of the week. I see myself going back to No Judgement a little bit more. It's just more comfortable and likable. But hey, they're both really damn solid songs on an otherwise kind of above average week. But next up, yeah, Justin Bieber album bomb, folks. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated